The white flag waves at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta, and Bubba Wallace is running third at nearly 190 miles an hour. There is barely a car length separating him from a win. He sees a gap. He commits to it, going 3 wide down the backstretch. In less than a second, he makes a decision that will define his week, not because of what happens on the racetrack, but because of what his own team owner says about it 2 days later, on a microphone, in front of the entire NASCAR world. This is the story of the Quaker State 400, a race that ended with Bubba Wallace stripped of a career-best finish, a heated confrontation with his own manufacturer teammate, and a team owner who chose honesty over loyalty, and left fans asking whether Denny Hamlin just threw his own driver under the bus. Before we get into what Hamlin said, here's some quick context. This channel, NASCAR Racing World, breaks down exactly these kinds of moments, the ones that don't get resolved in a single headline. We're closing in on 500 subscribers, and if you want more no-filter breakdowns like this one, hitting subscribe, dropping a like, and leaving a comment genuinely helps this channel grow. Your support directly shapes what we cover next, so if this story pulls you in, stick around, because it only gets more complicated from here. The race itself was already chaos before Wallace's final lap move. A lengthy rain delay pushed the finish of the Quaker State 400 into the early hours of Monday morning, turning an ordinary Cup Series Sunday into an overtime finish under the lights. On the last lap, Wallace ran third behind race leaders Ryan Blaney and Carson Hocevar. As Blaney pulled alongside Hocevar entering Turn 1, Wallace spotted a narrow opening on the inside and immediately went for it, attempting to complete a 3-wide move for the win. He crossed the finish line believing he had locked up second place. Then NASCAR reviewed the tape. Officials determined that Wallace's No. 23 Toyota had briefly advanced his position below the double yellow line, a violation of Section 8.7.2.a of the NASCAR rulebook, which prohibits racing below that line to gain track position. The penalty was severe. Wallace was dropped from second all the way to 29th, the final car on the lead lap. That single ruling cost him 27 championship points in one afternoon. But the final lap penalty wasn't even the first blow of Wallace's night. Earlier in the race, during Stage 2, Wallace made contact with his own Toyota manufacturer teammate, Ty Gibbs, driver of the number 54. The contact sent Wallace spinning off Gibbs' nose and through the infield, costing him valuable stage points before the yellow line penalty had even happened. It was a rough day compounding itself, and the frustration didn't stay contained to the racetrack. After the checkered flag, Wallace and Gibbs had a heated, visible confrontation on pit road. Speaking about the incident afterward, Wallace didn't hold back. He had the opportunity to give there a lot, and he didn't do that. So, when I told him that, he quickly went on the defense and said, "Don't block." Wallace continued, "When you hit me square in the bumper, it means you just ran right into me. The block was clean. So, yeah, that's Toyota teammates. We don't race very well together." Gibbs offered his own version of events. "Yeah, I went to tell him I'm sorry because he cleared himself, and then unfortunately, he showed a lot of disrespect," Gibbs said. "I don't know. Yeah, seems like it didn't really work out for him, but I just tried to help him out there at the end, push him to win, but it didn't happen." So Wallace loses stage points to his own teammate, loses a runner-up finish to a penalty, and gets into a public shouting match on pit road. Surely his own team, 2311 Racing, has his back. That's where Denny Hamlin enters the story, and where things get complicated. Hamlin isn't just the co-owner of 2311 Racing. He's also a driver himself, competing in the very same races as Wallace and Gibbs, currently sitting as the NASCAR Cup Series points leader in 2026. He hosts a weekly podcast called Actions Detrimental, a show built entirely around unfiltered opinions on the sport, including, often, opinions about his own team. On the Monday night episode following the Atlanta race, Hamlin didn't shield his driver. He broke down the entire incident, piece by piece, and didn't land fully on Wallace's side. On the Gibbs confrontation specifically, Hamlin said, "My perspective is both guys should look at it through the other guy's perspective. That is where I'm at with it." He didn't stop there. Hamlin extended the same standard to his other 2311 driver, Tyler Reddick, saying he'd been frustrated by some of Reddick's blocking during the same race. "I was a little upset with the 45 as well. It seems like with some of the blocks and stuff, it leaves you no choice. Yes, you might be clear, but you're leaving me no choice, the competition no choice." This detail matters, because it shows Hamlin wasn't singling out Wallace, he was applying one consistent rule to everyone, including his own cars. Then Hamlin turned to the Wallace-Gibbs incident directly, and this is where it stings. I think this was one of those situations where it was a tough ask, to ask the 54 to check up that much, Hamlin said. There was just so big of a speed variance, but I understand why the 23 did it. He doesn't want to lose that one spot because they're coming to the end of the stage, but, man, that's really putting your competition in a really tough spot where you're saying, yep, I need you to look out for me here and lift. I just don't think that's a reasonable ask of anyone. In plain terms, Hamlin's own team owner said, on his own show, that his own driver's expectation of Gibbs wasn't fair. Imagine getting hit by your teammate, stripped of a win by NASCAR, and then turning on the radio to hear your boss explain, calmly, why you were the unreasonable one in the exchange. If you're finding this breakdown useful, this is exactly the kind of story we dig into every week, so drop a comment with which side you land on, share this with a fellow NASCAR fan, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Hamlin's commentary didn't stop at the Gibbs dispute. He also addressed the yellow line penalty itself, and again, he sided with NASCAR over his own driver's protest. When I watched it, I was thinking that that's definitely gonna be a penalty, because I've been penalized for it before. I know and understand the rule. Hamlin explained the rule doesn't hinge on the final result. It's not literal in the sense of advancing your position. It's making a move to advance. There's a word in there that is very, very specific, the result doesn't matter. It's the intention. He compared the yellow line to something physical. That yellow line, that is a wall essentially. And the minute that you step your foot out of bounds, it doesn't matter whether you gained an advantage or not. Hamlin then pointed to a specific moment in the replay. While the finishing position showed that he didn't advance, if you look out of the middle of turns 3 and 4, Bubba was the furthest out in front. So he technically did gain, he gained the lead at some point of the move. NASCAR's own leadership backed that same reading. Mike Ford, NASCAR's Vice President of Racing Communications, addressed the ruling directly on the Hauler Talk podcast. We determined that he did advance his position in a couple of areas, Ford said. At a certain point, if you look at the replays, he's in first, and it's the last lap. If there is a caution, there was a point pretty close to that start-finish line where he would have been declared the winner. Ford added that even in that scenario, the outcome would have been the same, a black flag and a finish of 29th regardless. Wallace and 2311 didn't accept the ruling quietly. Following the race, Wallace, crew chief Charles Denny, and 2311 performance director Dave Rogers reviewed telemetry and video before walking into the NASCAR hauler to formally protest the finish. According to Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, that meeting lasted 31 minutes before officials confirmed the penalty stood. Wallace's own words leaving that meeting were brief, a penalty is a penalty. The debate didn't stay contained to Hamlin and NASCAR officials, either. Kevin Harvick, the 2014 Cup Series champion, weighed in on his own show, Speed, alongside broadcaster Will Buxton. Harvick sided firmly with the penalty. This is a pretty easy rule to regulate, Harvick said. When you see him go from behind those cars to beside those cars, it's pretty hard to argue that you don't have an advantage in advancing your position. Harvick did note he wasn't convinced Atlanta needed the yellow line rule at all, unlike drafting tracks such as Daytona and Talladega, though he agreed it made no difference to how this particular case was decided. Matt Weaver, a NASCAR insider, posted directly about the Wallace-Gibbs disagreement on July 13, 2026, noting the tension between the two drivers as the story spread across the garage. What started as a single race incident quickly became a storyline that dominated multiple NASCAR outlets for days afterward. The stakes behind all of this go beyond a single Sunday night. Wallace entered Atlanta with real championship momentum, having led 11 laps and posted one of his fastest cars of the season. Instead, he left with only 9 championship points, dropping to 13th in the standings and surrendering significant ground relative to the chase cut line, with 6 regular season races remaining. In a championship format where every point matters heading into the playoffs, that single afternoon reshaped his margin for error. That leaves 2 clear camps among fans and analysts. One side argues that a team owner should defend his driver publicly, especially after a night this brutal, a penalty, a teammate collision, and a public confrontation, all in one race. The other side argues that a team owner who tells hard truths, even about his own driver, protects the credibility of the team and the sport long term, rather than making excuses. Denny Hamlin didn't raise his voice. He didn't attack Wallace personally. He sat behind a microphone and calmly walked through why his own driver's ask of a teammate wasn't reasonable, and why NASCAR's penalty was correctly applied. Whether that composed, rule-based honesty helped 23XI Racing or quietly damaged trust inside the team is still an open question heading into the rest of the 2026 season. So here's the real question: was Hamlin's breakdown fair analysis from a team owner who happens to be a competitor, or did he throw his own driver under the bus in front of the entire NASCAR world? Drop your verdict in the comments, share this video with someone who needs to see both sides of this story, and subscribe to NASCAR Racing World so you don't miss what comes next in this rivalry.